So today we're going to talk about how to approach SEO for your business. And this is going to be a very frank conversation because SEO is a big investment. And so I want to make sure that you feel confident about what you understand it to be and what it would mean for your business. So today's topic specifically, we're going to talk about the importance of considering your marketing strategy and sales funnel. We're going to talk about a comprehensive SEO audit, and then we're also going to talk about whether or not you should consider hiring a professional to help you optimize your site and your content. So those are the three big topics we're going to cover, and feel free to ask any questions, obviously, within those or just within SEO in general. I'm happy to answer them at the end. All right, so this is a quote that I thought was really smart and helpful. So good SEO only gets better over time. It's only search engine tricks that need to keep changing when the ranking algorithms change. And so this is something I thought that was really interesting and very true, because SEO, optimizing your content for search engines, isn't just finding the best tips and tricks. It's really creating content that people care about. Right? So kind of answering the question, why should someone read, listen, or watch what I have to say? And helping yourself to create the kind of content that would be like, because it's good, right? Because it's important, because it's valuable. The tricks that you have to learn to go with it. So what to really, work better for SEO or search engine ranking. What Google's changing or Bing or all the little things that they change for the algorithms over time are important to know. But when you create really good and sufficient content, and when you do the work well, it'll last a long time and it only gets better. So that's just something I thought was really interesting and helpful, kind of a good perspective to give to us. All right, so first, like I said, let's talk strategy. So when I'm even thinking about these questions for myself, it's really helpful, right? But when we're looking at SEO, the purpose of SEO is to drive traffic to your site. And so we want to ask ourselves these three big questions, and plenty others, but especially these three, before you even really think about whether or not to invest in SEO. So the first question of, do I have a digital strategy in place? So a lot of this is just asking yourself, is there a strategy to your marketing? Is there a message? Is there a means? Is there a purpose for all of it, right? Is there a reason that you're going to do the things that you're going to do? And are they driving you in the right direction? So it's really easy to get caught up in the tactics, right? To say, okay, I'm going to be on social, or I'm going to write a newsletter, I'm going to do this, that, or the other, just because other people are telling you to. Well, I think it's really important to tell you to pick the right things for your business, and the right things for your business are what's getting your customers, right? And what'll help you to get more. And so if you don't already have a strategy in place, that's really where you want to start, and just thinking about, okay, how do I want to approach this? What are my goals for my business? And what strategy can I create to market my business to help me reach those goals? So if you want to reach a certain revenues goal, or a certain number of clients, or maybe you want to hire a certain number of team members, then you need to go about figuring out the right strategy to do that. And it's different for everybody. The second question is also really, really important, and something that I've even been working on myself a lot over the last few months. So the question is, do I have a sales funnel for each call to action on my website? So it's not just one sales funnel. It's for every call to action on your site. Is there a funnel that people are being put into? Is there a system? Is there a path that they are going to go down to help them figure out not only whether or not they want to hire you or purchase from you, but help you to figure out if they're the right client or customer for you? And so if you don't have that, it can make not only your marketing difficult, but especially your SEO, it can really leave you wanting for better results, right? So if our purpose is to drive traffic, and the purpose of driving traffic is to get us new clients, to get us new customers, then we have to have something in place to help them make that transition from a visitor to an actual paying client. So consider what your sales funnel looks like. They don't all have to be different funnels, right? You could have all different calls to actions on your website and they all go into the same funnel. But it's important to have those steps figured out before you invest in SEO, or at least while you're working through it, right? And it'll always change. Things will happen. You'll find that some things are working when other things aren't. You'll find that, you really enjoy one piece of the puzzle and then this other piece maybe is not working as well. So it'll be constantly changing and evolving, but there has to be some kind of process that you're going to be putting people through to help them get to a point where they're actually going to make a purchase. So that's a big piece too, because if we drive 1 million people to your website, but you have nowhere for them to go, you have no way for them to contact you, or you don't have a good management system in place for managing those contacts and those leads, then you're going to lose them. So helping you think ahead to even that piece is really, really important. And then the third piece is, how do I get my customers? So like I've said 1 million times, SEO is an investment. And we all kind of know what that means, right? It has a pretty nice price tag on it. Really good SEO is going to be costly to some extent, right? It doesn't have to cost you an arm and a leg by any means, but to have someone who can really get you to where you want to be, to help you get to a higher rank on your search results, not only is it going to take time, which will cost more money, right? But it'll also take a certain level of expertise and effort to get you to that point. And so that's where that investment comes in. And so this is where I'm going to be honest. Is it worth your time, energy, and money? And for some people right now, it may not be, and that's okay. And I'm not saying you should never think about SEO, but I am saying you want to be wise about your resources, right? So if you are not currently getting customers finding you on Google at all, or through your website at all, then you want to start to think about, okay, if I want to get people to find me on Google or to find me through my website and contact me that way, then we want to think about SEO. But if right now all of your clients and customers are coming through referrals or some kind of word of mouth or like a webinar like this, right, then it may not be the right time for you to focus completely on SEO. Or maybe you want to take it in small chunks, or those different pieces. It is really important, and SEO is going to be one of the best investments you can make in marketing your business. And when you can do it well from the beginning, you're setting yourself up for long-term success. But I also know that as business owners, and especially small business owners or startups, we only have so much time, we only have so much money. And so I want you to be really wise about that. So thinking through what that looks like and what that means for you. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. Okay, so you should not focus on SEO if you don't have a well-designed and functioning website. And the reason it's important not only to have a functioning site, but a well-designed site is that people will judge you and your business based on what they see on the internet, right? Especially if it's their first experience with you. It doesn't have to be a masterpiece. It doesn't have to be a $10,000 website, but it does need to be intentionally designed, and it does need to look nice, and it does need to communicate all of the things about you and your brand that you want to communicate, that you are smart, that you are confident, that you are knowledgeable about your industry, and that they can trust you, that whoever's looking at your site, if they're interested in what you're offering, that you're the right answer and the right solution to their problem. You want to communicate that in a well-designed site. So if you don't have that in place, and especially if it's broken or it's really out of date, then there's no point in sending people to it, right? It's not going to help you. We could get 1 million leads to your site, but if they're going to die there, then it doesn't help you at all, right? So definitely thinking, okay, if I don't have a site in place, if my website needs some serious tweaks, and I'm not talking like small things, I'm talking about like, I need to completely restructure this or update it with all new information, then maybe you want to hold off on SEO for now. You can start having that conversation, and I highly recommend it, getting yourself set up and in place with somebody who can help you get the ball rolling and even help you redesign your site with SEO in mind to optimize for Google is a great idea. But you want to make sure that it's designed properly and that it's functioning well and that you have it all set up. Same thing like we talked about with a digital strategy. If you don't have that in place, start there and start with your sales funnel as well. And so all three of these things, really, you can do them all at once, right? And you should, if you want to really seriously consider SEO for your website and get that inbound traffic, inbound marketing, then you want to be working on all three of these things at like one time, right? So you want to be thinking about how your website fits into your marketing strategy and where it fits into your sales funnel. You want to be thinking about how you're designing it, what your branding looks like, having your website match your branding, having a brand guide, having all those things in place and getting that all set up so that when you start to implement SEO tactics and strategy into your business, you're going to be getting the results that you want. So those are the three things that I really highly recommend making sure you have set up and set in place before you dive into SEO. Now on the flip side, oh, and I said should twice, so that's funny. You should focus on SEO if you have a strong sales funnel and you can handle incoming traffic and conversions. So and like I said before, it takes time with SEO. So it's not as if you're going to make these updates or start posting optimized content and it's all of a sudden going to be a million people in your inbox. Could happen. I've never seen it before. But having that strong system in place will help you to handle that traffic as it starts to come in. Same thing with a complete marketing strategy, knowing exactly what you're going to communicate, what you're trying to sell, what you're trying to market, and how you're going to do that will be super, super helpful. And then having that website that can convert those leads into actual clients or customers will be some of the telling points of like, okay, we're ready to really jump into SEO. And so like I said, SEO is not just the content that like you're creating. It's not just a blog or video. It's the site structure. It's all of those different things. So it's important to have those conversations while you're updating these different pieces of your business and of your marketing strategy. But if you're looking to be like, okay, let me just dive in right now and hire someone to create all this content for me, you want to make sure that you're getting the right people in the right order, doing the right things. So definitely taking the time to consider those things, ask yourself important questions, and talk to professionals and know what to ask ahead of time, which I'll talk about in a minute as well. All right, so next up, let's talk about audits. So getting a really in-depth audit for your site is really helpful and important. Some simple free tools that I really like is Ubersuggest. So that's one of the tools I use. If I'm just going to do like a mini audit or do something really simple, or if I just want to kind of check on some especially technical level stuff for a site, that can be really helpful. So, and it's free. So if you want to check out and be like, all right, where am I even at with SEO? Am I completely in the gutter or am I like kind of doing okay? That can be a really helpful tool. But if you do something much more extensive, like our comprehensive WDS SEO audits, we look at everything from this like overall health and strength of your website. So things like authority on Google and on the internet. It's like, basically, do you have the authority to talk about what you're talking about? We do a technical evaluation. So are there broken links? Are there structural pieces of your site that are keeping you from being completely optimized? We look at all of your content. So not just blogs, but even the copy on your website and kind of give some insights there. Do some keyword research as well. Competitive analysis. So we look at your competitors and say, okay, how do you stack up? And then also looking at that authority and backlink overview of just, okay, where are you getting traffic from? Who's posting about you? Who's sharing your content? Who's linking back to your site? And that boosts your authority and helps you to boost your ranking as well. So having all of that information from a professional, from someone who knows how to look for it and how to report on it can be really helpful to give you some insight into, okay, what do I need to do first? What are some steps to really increase and improve my SEO score? So for example, let's say we do an audit and we find that there's some serious technical issues with your site that are keeping it from, maybe Google even finding the page, the page altogether. Maybe there's copy that's really old or doesn't have the right key. Excuse me. Talking too quickly. All right. Keywords, that you're missing. Or maybe your competitors are at another level than you. As my voice sounds really weird. Gosh, the pollen, you guys, it's getting to me. Okay, so we would look at all those things and we would want to start with those technical tweaks, right? We want to make sure that your site structure, that everything that you need technically for your website is optimized first. And then we can go into that content, and then we can look at creating new content. Because there's no point in creating new content if the old structure and the old site isn't going to work for you, right? So that's what an audit really does, and it can help you understand all those things. And we even will lay out, like, here are the next steps that we, recommend. Here's what it would look like. Here's the timeline of what it would take to do all of that. And so understanding exactly what you need beyond what a free tool can give you, excuse me, is very, very helpful. All right, so that's our audits. Those are a really important step into all of it, just knowing where you're starting. All right, talking about hiring an expert. Now, this is whether you hire WDS or someone else, but I have a whole blog post from earlier this week with 10 or 7 questions to ask an expert and 3 to ask yourself. But I just picked these 4 to talk about today because I didn't want to take all of our time. So if you're talking to someone about SEO, here are 4 questions you really should make sure you're asking. Do you have an itemized list of services? So you want to know exactly what they're doing, why they're going to do it, and asking those questions are important because it is our job as the expert to be able to explain to you what it is we're doing and why we're doing it. And if someone's not willing to give you an itemized list of each of those things, that to me at least is a big red flag of, okay, why won't you tell me what you're going to do? Why won't you tell me how you're going to do it? All of those different pieces. And so asking those questions is really important, and at least getting some kind of, general overview of, oh, okay, so, if we're going to do a technical evaluation, this is what it looks like, or this is what we might do to tweak it. These are some of the tools that we might use, like, get some insight to know exactly what they're going to be doing for you. That's totally fine. That's good. A good SEO is going to want to give you that information. Second question to ask is, what should I expect for rankings? So part of the audit is going to be able to tell you where you rank currently. So for, let's say, I think I looked at this recently for myself, and like for digital marketing or digital marketing DC, I was like number 75, which means I'm like on pages of Google that no one will ever get to. And so knowing that, it's better than being like number 7,000, but knowing that I'm number 75, that will inform me on, okay, it's going to take some time for me to get to that number 1, number 2, number 3 spot. And so having that expectation, knowing how long it might take to get there, and knowing what we're going to do to achieve that is really helpful. But if I'm, say, number 10, it's likely that as I implement some changes and optimize content and all these different things, I might reach the ranking goal that we want to hit much more quickly. So that's why it's helpful to know, what should I expect? Because if people are guaranteeing you number 1 ranking, that's also a red flag to me. There's it's almost impossible it's pretty much impossible without paying to hit number 1 for a keyword. It's a lot, and to do it quickly, right? So just depending upon what it looks like, it's just highly unlikely. And if someone's able to say generally, right? So if you're in just like a normal kind of discovery call and they haven't had a chance to look at anything, they don't know where you're currently ranking on something, for someone to say, I can guarantee you're going to hit that spot within 30 days, you should really know what they're doing, or you're probably going to have to spend a bunch of money. Because if someone can do that organically in 30 days, they're a wizard. Like, I don't know what they're doing, but they've got some secret, and they're going to charge a lot for it. So asking that question can just be really helpful to even kind of weed out people who may be trying to give you some flashy numbers just to get you to work with them. This third question is asking, how will you learn about my industry? Because part of SEO is creating content and creating it on a regular basis. But if you are hiring someone who doesn't know, the depths of the industry like you do, then asking them how they'll learn is really important. And so are they going to be collaborative? Are they going to expect you to do a lot of, heavy lifting at the beginning, middle, end, throughout the process? What is that going to look like? Because they're not going to really ever be the same level of knowledgeable as you, right? That would just be, especially if you have 20 years in an industry that your SEO does not have any information in, like it's highly, highly unlikely. So knowing how they approach that, knowing how they make sure that their content is correct, that what they're saying is true and honest and accurate is really important. And then the fourth question is to ask, how will you report these results? So understanding, what kind of systems they use, or if they're going to communicate with you, like, is it going to be a phone call where they're going to walk you through it? Are they just going to send a written report every month or every week or however often? Knowing that can be really helpful as well. Just to know even like what you can commit to. Maybe you don't want to have a phone call every month, or maybe you want to have one every week. Who knows? But being able to have that conversation can also be really helpful in understanding how well you're going to work with somebody, because SEO will be a very collaborative experience, because it's all about your business, right? It's all about getting your message, getting your content, getting your ideas onto your site so that it can be able to bring in the right people. And so getting that kind of information ahead of time is really, really helpful. So those are the 4 questions I like to ask. There's plenty more for sure to ask. You can check out my blog from this week on my website to see all of the questions I have listed. And then if you even were to just to Google what questions should I ask, about an SEO agency, gosh, there's like a million articles. So a lot of great resources out there. I highly recommend checking out and making sure you have a strong understanding of what you need and what kind of questions you really should be asking if you're not sure. So just some thoughts there. All right, speaking of questions, we have a few minutes left, so I wanted to open up the floor, the virtual floor, for anybody who has questions about SEO in general or about anything I touched on today, and kind of give you guys a chance to ask what you're looking for. And if not a problem. Kristen, great question. So what are the best tools for keyword research? So I really like to use Google's Keyword Planner. And so it's a tool within their Google Ads tool. And it literally will just give you all the information you need about it, including like how much it would cost if you wanted to rank, or if you wanted to like pay for an ad for that keyword. But I really like to look for keywords that have a high volume and a low competition, or a low to medium competition, right? So we want keywords that are being searched for a lot, but there's not a lot of people who are ranking for them. So yeah, I like that one. What else? Ubersuggest has a keyword research tool. There's Keyword Finder, which is another free tool. It's actually an extension for Google Chrome, which is kind of cool. I had it for a long time, and then it got overwhelming for me just because it was telling me all the keywords that were like ranking for all the different things that I was Googling. And I was like, this is a lot, but it's really awesome. And then I also like to just kind of Google the topic and see what Google auto-populates. Sometimes that can be really helpful if you're looking for like blog ideas, or just seeing what questions people are asking, right? So most people that are looking for services that WDS offers are not looking for digital marketing. That's not typically what they're going to text or type into the search bar. They're going to say, how can I market my business on Instagram? Or how do I design a website? Or what's the best website platform for, a non-web designer? So those are kinds of tools and questions I like to ask to see what people are really asking, to see how I can then rank for those terms or keywords. So yeah, those are a couple of my faves. Let's see, any other questions? I know it's a lot of information I threw at you, so awesome. Well, I'll let you guys keep thinking on that. And if you do have questions that come up, you can always email me. For next week, we are going to be talking about Instagram's algorithm. So these next couple of weeks, we're going to be really looking at Instagram marketing, because that was something a lot of people have been asking me about. And then we will also be finishing up our free SEO mini audits. So that's just for April. So we've got like one more day left. So if you want someone to, or if you want me to audit your site, SEO, if you want me to audit your SEO for your website, definitely request one of those. And then please feel free to share any thoughts, ideas, feedback that you have about these sessions so I can improve them in the survey that I send in the follow-up email as well. It looks like we got another question, so I'll answer these couple ones as we wrap up. So are there any good SEO tools for nonprofits? So any of the tools should really work for nonprofits or for-profit businesses. I really like Ubersuggest. Moz is a great tool, has a lot of great tools. SEMrush, Ahref, all of those are really great tools. A lot of them come with a subscription. So that's something to consider, but they may, I have no idea, so don't quote me on this, but they may offer some kind of discount for nonprofits. So I would definitely look into that. To request the free audit, I'll include the link for that in the follow-up email, Kristen. So great question. And Louisa, yeah, great question as well for those, but I would just use the same tools for nonprofits as I would for anything else. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today. If you have any other questions, as always, you can reach out to me via email, and I hope to see you back here next week. Bye.